Welcome to Design Build Workshop. Today I'm talking about three elements that I designed for the HO scale layout. And one is this water tower, which you can also see in the screen. And then the other is a yard tower, which you can see part of it on the screen, but this is kind of the finished. It's not quite finished, very close to being finished, but this is the other one right here. And then the bridge, which I don't have with me right here because it's actually on the set itself, so I'll show some images of that as well. And I'll go through how I printed how I designed and printed every one of these so that you could, if you wanted to do something like that, you could do it yourself as well. Here's the bridge base, or the bottom. And what I did was I just made this thickness right here from there to there, the same as my cork road bed, so that when I would put these together, they would match up virtually on the same level, same plane, so I didn't have any issues with that. Now I did have to adjust the foam a little bit where I put this piece down, but it worked just fine. So I've got the flat piece right here, which is where the train track's going to run. I've got my edge here, which is the same thickness as all the girder pieces that are going to get glued in place. And then all these little pieces right here represent like the wooden walkway on either side of the track or the trestle. And this is relatively narrow. It's only made for a single train. And even for that, I think it's probably a little narrow as far as scale is concerned. But this is what I did, and this is all printed out in one piece. And this would be, the bottom when it's printed out. And this printed out really clean, so I was really happy with that. And then the next piece is the side rail, and this was done so you could represent the girders, and there's rivet detail in here. Eventually I want to make like a little plate that's going to go from this outside edge right here to the side of the of the base. So I may do like three, like maybe four that attach, maybe three, like one here, one on each end, little triangular pieces that I may glue in. The other side is just flat, so this is the inside of the trestle itself, which you won't see that much, but the outside is where I've got all the detail. So it was printed, so this is the bottom, so this would be flat on the build plate, and then everything was printed, top down, basically from this side. And then this would be the top section. So you think those two pieces come together, and then this edge will glue to the inside edge of those side pieces on both sides. And I did the same thing where this is the bed side, and it's printed from the top down. And so I have the rivet detail, and then these ridges here, which basically represent like T-stock, which is pretty common in bridge building. Large like T's or L, like L brackets that are basically all riveted together and end up forming this kind of shape. And then I think we have, so this piece, this is this really small piece. This is going to go in between. So this is going to glue to the side edges, or the side pieces, and then this piece will glue to the top or the underside of the top piece. And I can show you the full assembly here. Oh, I don't have those pieces in. Anyway, those small pieces would go right here, right along this edge, and then down, and then it forms a nice little detail. And those are printed flat as well, so the pieces that are, those side pieces that are here, or those pieces that fit in the middle here, they're printed so that if you look from this edge, you'll see the rivet detail. If you look from this edge, you'll see the rivet detail. And then the middle one, I actually doubled them up. So I glued them back to back. So no matter which way you look at it, you'll see the rivet detail from this side as well as this side, looking this way. So anyway, there's that. And then I think I've got an inset in here showing you the actual finished bridge. I still need to detail the rust on it some more. It turned a little green for some reason with the rusting detail I did, so I'm going to have to go back in and adjust that. But it works really well. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I'm probably going to add those details right here where I've got a plate that attaches from here to here. If you're enjoying the viewing of this content and you feel like you're getting some value out of it, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. Would really help me out in producing more videos just like this. Front of the water tower, I'm just going to kind of lay this down. And we'll start with the base, which I think is right here. So what I did with the base is, and you can't see it from the bottom, but this is flat obviously, so this was the bed side. And then this is flat here as well. But what I did was I added these little corner pieces right here that are raised up, and they are angled a little bit to match the same degree of angle that the side pieces are. And what that does is that helped me locate these pieces because they're glued on the edge, and we'll go over that next. So this is the side piece, or one of the 4 side pieces. And so the way this is set up is obviously they taper their angle back, and then I have, you know, the rivet detail in here. And I kind of wanted this to be a little more detailed than most water towers, so I just added a little bit of this curvature in here, which I tend to like. But the gluing edge is here. So when this is glued together, this is going to end up looking like angle iron on the edge right here, which I think pulled off pretty well. The only problem with that is when you're gluing that edge, you're basically putting 2 edges together, and that's a little hard to hold together. So that's why the base has that detail in it to basically indicate where these bottom pieces go. And then I did the same thing on the top of the water tower, and we'll get to that next. So this is the deck. The deck's pretty complicated. I did the same thing here. So these are the indicator pieces, and if you were able to see those, they'd be on the inside here, and that's what's, you know, these are resting against. So when I put this together, the deck and the base piece on the bottom really help indicate where these are going to go when you're gluing it up. But it's a complicated gluing assembly because now I'm putting 4, 5, 6 pieces all together at one time. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, so it worked out okay. I really like how I did the deck. This is the bed side, so this is down against the print bed, and then this is the other side that gets printed up. These were pretty complicated, these bracket pieces right here, and that's because they're on, you know, 2 angles, right? So they taper back one way and then tilt back the other way. So that really had to be thought out as far as printing this out. And this came out really well. You can see they touch all along. So it looks like they're, you know, that matches that angle on, you know, both angles as far as the way it had to go. And then I also put in this, you know, detail right here, which same thing, I like this curvature type stuff. So I put that in there as well. And then when this is printed, obviously you can see through the deck. So those are like, you know, wooden slats, or at least that's the representation. And then I've got another support piece right here. But this piece was probably the most complicated piece to design. But as long as I knew what these angles were, I could easily, you know, get that set up and then print it. And then let's see, our next piece is the drum itself. So the water drum itself. So it's just hollow. I did add these ridges and then this ridge here. So it looks like it's an assembly of, you know, pieces that are put together, which I think it gives it a little more of an aged look. So I wanted to do that. And then the cone, at least that's what I'm labeling it as, but the top of the water tower right here, that was just, I didn't add any detail to it. It's just, you know, got a curved, or, you know, it's just angled up here, it's hollowed out. It's flat here, so you can see that right there. And then it's just got a, you know, just a smooth cone on the top. And I actually kind of like the way you can see when the print came out, it's got this little, you know, pattern that's in it. I'm okay with that. I think it looks all right. So I'm leaving that as it is. And I guess I could have added rivet detail in here, but I decided not to. I wanted to leave that fairly plain. And then the next part did this railing. And this was printed as one piece. And then of course, this is the bottom, so that's on the print bed. And then where each one of these little openings is, that's radiused. And that's because, you know, for the same reason as this is printing, it'll print that radius without having all kinds of stuff, overhang or any support or anything. So this was all printed without support. All these pieces were printed without support. Like I said, I prefer to do that because it's, you know, it's clean, and you know, that's, I just would rather do that than have to, you know, cut out a whole bunch of support pieces. It went together really well. So I mean, as long as you know, design this in a way that it goes together here, it's gonna go together when you print it out. You just have to think about, you know, how things are being done and the way the print is being done to get a clean print. So this, you know, still needs to get weathered, but you know, pretty happy with how this came out. Okay, so now we're on to the yard tower, and I did a couple iterations of like this base piece, which you can see here. And so with this was originally, I actually printed this as stairs with an open railing underneath. That's a little tough to print, and there's a lot of support that has to happen to make an open staircase print out. And because it's so small, it was really a pain in the butt. I printed it once and I didn't like how it came out. You know, the railing was all open and had like, you know, support like balusters and stuff like that in it. And I just decided against it. It was just, you know, too much of a pain in the butt to print, at least with an FDM printer. And so what I ended up doing was printing this as basically, you know, solid wall pieces. And I'm pretty happy. I mean, it's basically like if it was built out of brick or something like that, or cement and then stuccoed over or something. And all I did was when I painted this is I did highlight, you know, the beams essentially, which may not be the case if you've got cement or stucco or something, but you know, I think it's feasible. And then I just painted this kind of like a brick color and then weathered it, you know, gave it some, you know, staining and that kind of thing. And then where the railing part is, or the sidewall, I just made that like it was made out of a, you know, planks of wood or solid wood that was run along for the stairs and everything. And then, you know, the stairs are done just like they are here. So that detail's left in there. And I think that came out okay as far as the weathering. I added a little detail in the bottom. So a representation of a table, 2 chairs and like a potbelly stove. And I've got that painted, you know, here. And I think that, you know, looks pretty well, looks fine. The only problem is when you do put this on here, you really don't see it. I mean, you'd have to really light this up on the inside to you know, see what's going on in there. But I still enjoy doing the detail anyway. And then there's an archway that is built into it to get through the door on the building itself. And then of course the upper door matches on the platform here, like so. And I've not modeled the top floor where there's going to be the controls for the yard tower manager or operator, as far as, you know, the switching levers and that kind of thing. So I'm going to put that in as well. And then let's go to one of the side walls. Okay, so this is one of the end walls, and I just, you know, this is based on, I saw one that's real similar to this. I don't remember where I saw it. It could have been one of the other model companies, or it could have been someone else had done something. So it's pretty similar to that. I changed the roof and I changed the supports. I like these support details, and that was fun because it printed out really well. Let's see, is that in here? That's not in here. So let's find one that's got it. Okay, yeah, so this is actually cut off. But when this was printed, this was the bottom. So that's on the build plate. And then, you know, so it was laid down like this. And these pieces right here print out just fine when it's in this position. No supports required or anything. The detail came out really well. So I'm really happy with that. So I can't complain about that at all. And then once again, you know, I talked about doing the brickwork, and I do the same thing with siding. So this is one, I've got one big panel that I designed that's got the siding detail in it. And then whenever I make anything that's got wooden siding, I just go ahead and cut out what I need, and then I start modeling off of that. where I put in the windows and doors and that type of thing. Let's see. So this is the end wall, right, where we've got the two doors set up, which is right here. And then the roof. So this roof, this is like the second version. This is the first one I did, which I'm plenty happy with. So I'm probably just gonna stick with what I have. But I may go back and do one that's got the standing seam roof, because I'm sure it'll turn out fine. This, I haven't tried printing this one yet. I just printed this kind of this basic one, and it was fine. So I may go ahead and do this one because there's more detail, and detail's obviously, more important when you're doing this kind of stuff. I'm trying to think of anything else I need to talk about this one. And it's just basically you got the 4 pieces here. So you got the two side walls, which are the same, and then you've got the 2 individual end walls. So that's 4, 5, and this is all one piece. So that's 6. So 6 components for this, other than building this second floor, which will be a total of 7, which isn't bad, and it goes together really well. I'll probably put a little detailing here in the front so that you can see, maybe there'll be like a bench or something there. And I may put some detailing right here in, this area right there, right in front when you first enter. So there might be some stuff that I'll, pile up here. Maybe there's like a barrel or something. I don't know, whatever I can put there. I may put some more detail in there. Maybe even like a seating area over here too as well. So anyway, that's the yard tower. Thanks again for joining me on Design Build Workshop. If you like this video, I really appreciate you subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you next time.